You don't know how much that phrase sickens me to hear that.
I cannot take myself with a smooth face-ish. But while I'm talking about this, words and phrases that cause confusion and anxiety in my brain. I know I'm not the only one that suffer from this. The whole overgeneralization broad phrase of the world. And here's something that really gets me in my confusion and angst. That is one phrase, know the business. How broad is that? Instantly, my brain just shuts off. It just shuts down. Hearing that made me feel as if there's a wasp in the room invading my whole room, and I'm about to fight to get this thing killed. It's that kind of anxiety-driven thing. Also, the phrase, you gotta know mixing and mastering when it comes to recording, which made me shut off doing any form of recording of music. I used to scream. Here's the thing. Whatever you want to do in life, whether if it's in the career of whatever it is, you're gonna have to keep a continuing of learning in your thought process, regardless how scary it is or what, because especially when it comes to living in music, it's very broad. This year, I decided to take upon myself to remove the fear and start to advance my music career of just understanding it. And I know for sure that this won't be my first or last time having a mental shutdown. What am I doing about this? Well, open a book! I had to open a book.
What?
I.e., this book. I'm not being sponsored by them whatsoever. I have heard this in a couple of audio rooms talking about this book in particular. I'm just like, okay, let me go search out for this book. And also, too, I went to grab the audiobook as well, so that I'm listening and learning at the same time, because I have been highlighting in this book because I want to learn, and eventually I am going to have a little bit of notes that are inside of it. I'm trying to make sure that I don't lose my spot in the book. You see how thick that book is? There's a lot of materials, and the audiobook is 24 hours long worth of audio, but it's the small steps. It is the small steps that helped me with this. And so it had to make me do a little bit of a shift in my thoughts and translation of some of the things that are happening, because yes, even though it is the latest edition of the book, the music business is still changing up from what we're speaking of right now, especially with the rise of AI, which I talked in the video about it. So I had to extend out the phrase to itself to know the business, to understand the basic music standards and see how the music industry function. And let me tell you, even though it's longer to say, it helps build your altar. And yes, it has helped me to relieve some of the angst about the music industry and trying to give me an understanding of how the record label work and just see every role and function into the music industry. I'm still reading. As you may see, I am this much into the book. This is all I need to know. And this is how far I got to. It helps really break down of the music industry, and now that I'm looking at it and reading just from the basics of it, looking at music content and artists, they're basically doing play-by-plays by the book. This phrase got me way, way back, especially when it came to learning about recording before I had the mental shut off of it, was the phrase of mixing and mastering.
Oh, mixing and mastering. You have to mix and master and all that. Blah, 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 blah.
Let me tell you. It's so broad. It's so general. It doesn't even explain of what it does. But it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that I attended a Master to Mix free class to understand what it means. And I have been instinctively doing that on stage when I was forced to use in-ears. Now thinking about it, it makes sense in the world because of how acoustic works. But we ain't going on detail about that. That's a whole different phrase in a shell, okay? Which also had to make me translate the whole mixing and mastering of it. For me, it is to visualize the music and the players. Even though I'm doing digital, it helped me see the depth of what I'm doing. For example, if I was doing a recording for a orchestra and all of sections of it had their own microphones set up to it. And so in order for me to mix and master that, I'll have to pan the music depending on where everyone is sessioned off into the music. Kind of that deal. And it makes sense. It makes a whole lot of sense in my brain of it. So that now I can visually see everything that I'm doing and then panning in just from it. Even though it's digital, I'm still able to get it done and check the volumes and panning of it so that it sounds visually to it. And that's what I had to do on stage as well whenever you're doing in-ears, where I had to pan the drums to a certain section myself where I am because of visual and audio fits in the brain so that it doesn't cause any mass confusion of it. So if I do have a keyboard all the way to the left of me, that would be on the left of me listening. And I just use my pure imagination for it. Makes sense in my head. Now I'm about to hit some other musicians' words that are triggering. That word is music theory. And it can be triggering to a lot of musicians depending on their experience with it. Especially if you're going through the traditional route / classical route of it, because they make it seem as if everything is set in stone and you have to go by this rules and X, Y, and Z, which
had to provoke a movement saying like, you don't need music theory.
You don't know how much that phrase sickens me to hear that. Any people who are somewhat musically talented, it sickens me. Let me tell you a secret. Come a little closer. Come a little closer to me. Ain't that song? When it comes to music theory, there is no real set rules of the traditional classical world says it. It's really not. Think about it as this. Think about it as cooking. That might trigger a few people because cooking. But when it comes to cooking, there's certain things that you do have to do, just like in music, where it's just like, okay, you don't want to get sick, so make sure that you cook this in this ideal direction. Or, yeah, you don't want to get sick from food poisoning. That's why they make it. But when it comes to ingredients and spices, like making a burger, where it's like, well, not everyone going to have the same toppings on there. Some people want to add avocado to it, or have some bacon on it, fried eggs, which sounds delicious right now, with a little bit of American cheese. I think American cheese, okay? And that's how music is too. It's really like that, because yes, it is a template of breaking down of how these artists work, of how these composers work. They use this and that. These chord progression happens. And then you, as the artist, learning, be like, oh, let me see if I can recreate this. And pick and choose of like, oh wow, I really like this phrase from this piece. Or, hey, I like this chord progression. I really like it. Let me see how it pleasingly function in a chord progression. Kind of deal. This is called what I like to say creativity, where you're seeing stuff and you're able to pick it out and recreate it, make it your own original content. I just smacked this thing. Hopefully it doesn't get into the mix, does it? So you have to think about that of it, where music theory is a template-ish, where there are some rules that are like, if you want the music to sound pleasing, then Yeah, follow these a little bit and then see what you like about it, have the breakdown of it, and see if you can make it into the recording, make it into your music or composition whatsoever. It's all up to you. It's called being creative, just don't mimic. But I can make a whole video about the fine line between mimicking and creativity. My camera's telling me I only got 4 minutes. I would like to know your thoughts. I would love to know. Comment down below if this video helped you or any of that sort of way, or you like to add on to anything, whether it is in music business, recording, or music theory. See what helps out for the world and community. And tell me your views about them too, of the music industry, theory, and understanding of the recording process. And if you got this far into the video, thank you for watching. Like, if you haven't liked it, it's free. It's like that. Oh, you liked it. Thanks. And I'll see y'all next time because I'm playing catch up and I got a lot of editing to do.